New now at 5, a Mobile man who pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit murder for hire wants a do-over.
Jamorius Pierce pleaded guilty a year ago this month. The crime carries a mandatory sentence of life in prison.
His attorney argued when Pierce took a plea deal, prosecutors did not live up to the promises they made to his former attorney. We have our Brendan Kirby joining us now with the information on this story.
And Brendan, no ruling on this yet.
No, Cameron and Lenise. The judge said after a lengthy hearing today that he'll take this under consideration. At issue is whether Pierce had a deal with prosecutors for something less than life, and if so, whether that should be enforced or whether Pierce should be allowed to take his chances at trial. Lawyer James Pittman testified Monday that he never would have allowed Jamorius Pierce to plead guilty to conspiracy to commit murder for hire if he had known that the only outcome would be life in prison with no possibility of parole. Pierce admitted that he played a role in an unsuccessful plot to kill a man in 2022 that ultimately resulted in shootings at a pair of nightclubs and a Walmart in Mobile, as well as a casino in Mississippi. Pierce's new lawyers presented this PowerPoint presentation prepared by federal prosecutors during plea negotiations. Attorney Stuart Hanley argues that the presentation outlined 3 options. Pierce could go to trial and face life in prison if the jury convicted him. He could plead guilty and the U.S. Attorney's Office would recommend a sentence of at least 27 years, but still less than life. Or option 3, prosecutors would recommend a reduction of up to 50% of that sentence if he provided, quote, substantial assistance to law enforcement investigators.
But there was clearly a miscommunication or a misunderstanding, and I think that the evidence shows that that was on the U.S. Attorney's end. The slides that we saw, the evidence we saw from the plea negotiations make it pretty clear that if he were to enter a plea of guilty, in reward they would file a motion so that he didn't have a mandatory life sentence.
Prosecutors maintained that legally the only way Pierce could avoid a life sentence was to cooperate fully, something he was unwilling to do. They say whatever confusion there may have been should have been cleared up once U.S. District Judge Terry Moore went over the consequences of the plea with the defendant. Pittman testified that he believes prosecutors, quote, lied to him. That's something U.S. Attorney Sean Costello flatly denied.
This may be a misunderstanding, but there was the government does not lie. We have a difference of opinion about this. That's ultimately why we have a judge.
Judge Moore didn't indicate when he intends to rule. Several relatives of the victims of this wave of violence were in the courtroom today, and they addressed the judge. 2 of them said that they wish they could revoke their life sentences from living without loved ones who died, or in one case, having to care for a woman who suffered permanent paralysis. Reporting live in the News Center, Brendan Kirby, Fox 10 News.